This module is an introduction to biodiversity conservation, or Biodiversity 101, the first of a series of modules designed by the Biodiversity Partnership Project, funded by the United Nations Development Program, through the Department of Environment and Natural Resources and the Protected Areas and Wildlife Bureau, in coordination with the Local Government Academy of the Department of the Interior and Local Government. The whole series, along with other initiatives of the Biodiversity Partnerships Project, takes aim in promoting inclusive economic growth through biodiversity conservation. The best things in life are free. This saying is basically true. We get quite a lot of goods and services from biodiversity for free. We chop forest wood for fuel or lumber, pick fruits from trees, gather herbs for medicine, shells for accessories, and take a tour to the peaks, rivers, and lakes. Humans depend on natural resources for their sustenance, health, well-being, and cultural growth. Biotic resources provide food, fruit, seed, feeds, medicines, and a host of other goods and services. The enormous diversity of life is of immense value, imparting flexibility to ecosystems and natural processes. Biodiversity also has enormous social and cultural importance. According to the Convention on Biological Diversity, the world's poor, particularly in rural areas, depend on biological resources for as much as 90% of their needs, including food, fuel, medicine, shelter, and transportation. The bad news is biodiversity loss is a current and growing crisis worldwide. Biodiversity loss is an urgent matter, but we can still help recoup from this situation. Biodiversity concerns have to be included at every stage of the policies, plans, programs, and project cycles to help reduce the negative impacts that productive sectors exert on biodiversity, particularly outside of protected areas, and highlight the contribution of biodiversity to economic development and human well-being through enhanced collaboration with development sectors and actors. Local government officials can be the key to a biodiversity-friendly local government. It would be crucial for biodiversity concerns to be included in your local government agenda. Your actions for biodiversity will shape not only your own community, but the future of our children and the various species of plants and animals. The next video presentation will give us a glimpse of the state of biodiversity in the Philippines. What is happening to our environment? What will happen to all of us if we let our biodiversity be depleted?
The Philippines is one of the 17 mega-diverse countries in the world. It is home to the most diverse species of life, whether plants, animals, mostly found nowhere else in the world. Having one of the world's longest coastline at 37,008 kilometers long, the Philippines has an estimated 26,000 square kilometers of coral reefs, containing mangroves, reef fish, seagrass, algae, whales and dolphins, and marine turtles. Biodiversity is the engine that breathes life into all nature systems on which human life depends. From taming nature's destructive powers by keeping the chemical balance in our atmosphere to putting order in the Earth's climatic patterns, biodiversity is key to the perpetuity of human life. Biodiversity contributes to three major needs of human beings, namely health, food, and energy. In the pharmaceutical industry, some 50% of our medicines today are from natural sources. Biodiversity contributes to food production and human nutrition. Biodiversity contributes to industry, timber, and energy sources. Trees absorb carbon dioxide from the atmosphere, helping the Earth from overheating. Killer typhoons are brought about by the warming of the planet. Massive flooding and landslides are results of the denudation of forests. Illegal wildlife trade and forest loss now threaten the world's biodiversity, especially in the Philippines, which is now listed as one of the world's hotspots for biodiversity loss. Human activities such as illegal logging, irresponsible mining, unsustainable farming, and overfishing have a direct impact on the environment. The lack of concern with regards to our collective human impact towards the environment, such as neglect to consider alternative renewable sources of energy, disregarding the concept of conservation, failure to reduce our individual consumption, as well as our failure to recycle reusable materials, further strains the already weak ecosystem. It is said that man may have unknowingly started to dig his own grave with the loss of biodiversity. The impact of human actions towards the environment is putting a strain on the delicate balance between human demands and long-term sustainability. If left to continue on its own present destructive path, biodiversity may soon become only a living memory etched in photographs and video clips. It's not yet too late. Together, we can conserve resources and save our habitat. Each of us would need to do our own part in reversing environmental destruction. Simple actions such as proper disposal of waste, repairing leaking faucets, replacing incandescent bulbs with energy-efficient ones will go a long way to ease the pressure on our weakened environment. Not patronizing illegally traded wildlife will ensure the survival of countless species and would go a long way to conserve our biodiversity. Farming of wild animals and plants, rather than extraction from their natural habitat, should also be encouraged among Filipinos. Education through visits and interactions with protected biodiversity sites nationwide would serve as an eye-opener on the richness and diversity of plant and animal life in the country. Buying products that help advocacies on sustainability ensures that there would be a justifiable and continuous source of the merchandise. This would also assure the grassroots communities in the country of a sustainable livelihood. recognizing and respecting the rights of indigenous communities in managing their sacred sites such as forests, rivers, lakes, and caves, and promoting and supporting sustainable tourism will help sustain biodiversity conservation. Government programs such as identifying institutions that promote sustainable practices foster long-term awareness of our shared responsibility towards biological diversity conservation. Let us share the responsibility. Conserve our biodiversity for our children's children and for future generations.
Summarizing the video that has just been shown, we can pick up some important keywords. Biodiversity is the variety of life on Earth and our collective life support system. Humans depend for their sustenance, health, well-being, and cultural growth on nature. Exhausting these sources, therefore, could distress our lifestyle and even livelihood. Biodiversity loss is a pressing issue, and we all need to respond to it right now. Taking action to this burning environmental issue requires coordinated actions and cost-effective approaches before irreparable damage is brought about by biodiversity loss. The Philippine government, as party to multilateral agreements such as the Convention on Biological Diversity, is bound to certain obligations. At the local level, the agreements reinforce local initiatives by setting new standards on environmental protection, management, and conservation. At the national level, the national action plans may serve as guide in preparing the local development plans. Documents were formulated to address measures set in the Convention and to integrate and mainstream biodiversity conservation and sustainable use into relevant sectoral or cross-sectoral plans, programs, and policies. Among these are National Biodiversity Strategy and Action Plan, Philippine Biodiversity Conservation Priorities, Key Biodiversity Areas. In 2006, Executive Order Number 578 established the National Policy on Biodiversity and directed all concerned government agencies and offices and LGUs to integrate and mainstream the protection, conservation, and sustainable use of biological diversity into their policies, rules and regulations, programs, projects, and development planning process. A related policy, also issued in 2006, was EO 533, mandates the adoption of integrated coastal management and related models for the sustainable development of the country's coastal and marine resources and environment. Recognizing the fact that local governments have a very big part in biodiversity conservation, the Local Government Code of 1991 listed several rules for the various local government levels. The code devolved services related to environmental management from central to local governments. The code assigns the municipal LGUs to oversee water and soil resource utilization and conservation projects, implementation of community-based forestry projects, including the Integrated Social Forestry Program and similar projects, management and control of commercial forests with an area not exceeding 50 square kilometers, and the establishment of tree parks, green belts, and similar forest development projects pursuant to national policies and subject to supervision and review of the DENR. Provinces are tasked on the enforcement of forestry laws, diverted to community-based forestry projects, pollution control law, small-scale mining law, and other laws on the protection of the environment, and mini hydroelectric projects for local purposes. Section 18 of the Code provides local governments the power and authority to have an equitable share in the proceeds from the utilization and development of the national wealth and resources within their respective territorial jurisdictions. These provisions show that the action or inaction of LGUs towards biodiversity conservation makes or breaks the development of their area. The implementation of these policies and programs affect all of us. Everything we do and not do are interconnected. These delicately balanced interrelationship shape our present and future lifelines. People, as part of the ecosystem, are an integral component of biodiversity. Even within the urban area, where people may appear to be disengaged from the natural environment, human communities remain intimately connected with ecosystems and their processes through their diets, recreational activities, use of materials, water, and a lot other services and benefits obtained from biodiversity resources and ecosystems. The costs of not conserving biodiversity will be devastating for us and the future generations. Enforcement of environmental laws and acting now will make possible that all of us will have access and stake in these resources. What we sow, we reap, and if we allow the acquisition of more than the capacity of our resources allow, we will all end up with nothing. Conserving biodiversity requires the effective collaboration and support of national agencies, non-governmental organizations, the private sector, the local government units, and communities. We are all in this together. As local government officials are the bond that ties the community ventures and the national level initiatives. Your best effort in this undertaking is called for. You can bridge this gap and make your own areas more livable and healthy. Biodiversity-friendly local government units are feasible and realistic. We can do this one step at a time. The first step is to acknowledge that biodiversity conservation is a burning problem that needs our collective and immediate attention. We urge that you help us put biodiversity conservation as a priority concern. The next step is to include biodiversity conservation in your local governance agenda. With our short discussion, we hope that you can share with us some of your thoughts. How can biodiversity be included in your local development agenda? What are the activities that can be planned and implemented in your LGU that can help conserve and manage biodiversity? We have attached a plan of action template that you can use for this module. Please submit your plan to us and be a part of the biodiversity conservation community of practice. This plan of action can be the start of a better community, a better country, and contribute immensely to a better world. Should you have any comments, suggestions, recommendations, or any concerns, please feel free to visit our website at www.fieldbiodiversitypartnerships.com or at www.pawb.gov.ph. Let us work together to make biodiversity conservation work.